Welcome back, all you fabricants and flashbacks, to the super, not funny show, Gamercast. And of course, the Gamercast is where we talk about all things going on with video games. So we're talking about consoles, PCs, hardware, software, all the rumors and the buzz, and we'll even review games and all that fun stuff. Just all things video games. And of course, I am your host, Mo Day, your resident fabricant and comment extraordinaire on all things pop culture. And I'm joined by the superhero fan, the lover of anime, and of course, video game designer and video game enthusiast, my good friend Lottie. Lottie, how you doing today, sir?
Oh yeah, I am doing great. I am very excited about this episode. There's some big bombs that are going to be dropped in this episode when it comes to news. So everybody stay tuned.
Yeah. Yes, there's what's the way? Blop, 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 shots fired, shots fired. We've been talking about this for a little while about some things going on in hardware. So yeah, we got quite a bit to go over. So, but you know, this is the Gamercast, so it wouldn't be a Gamercast if we didn't at least talk about what we are personally playing this week and the last week. So, Lottie, what have you been up to as far as your video gaming?
Well, yeah, I beat the Ghost of Tsushima expansion pack. Loved it, absolutely enjoyed it. And what I loved about it so much, the way it ended, you know for a fact they're going to just keep adding on to it. So I'm definitely excited for that. I've been playing Doom Eternal on Nightmare difficulty. So like I said last week, I rebought Doom Eternal for $20. The reason why I did it, it's because when they made it the upgrade version for the PS5, because I originally bought it on PS4. When they made the upgrade version for PS5, there was no way to transfer your save data. And I really feel that id Software, they didn't do that on purpose, but you know, id Software is owned by Microsoft. So wink, wink, you know, they probably were like, let's screw some Sony PlayStation owners over. So I was just like, man, you know. And then like that same week, I saw it on sale for like $20, the complete edition with all the DLC, all the costumes and everything. So I said, you know what? If I'm gonna restart this game from the very beginning, I might as well play it on the superior platform, because I have a pretty powerful PC. So I said, you know what? I bought it for $20 on PC, and I'm really happy that I did it because I'm playing the game in like 4K HDR at like 120, well, really about 180 frames per second, and it's, oh man, this is how Doom was meant to be played, and like I said, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I might hit up some No Man's Sky later on this week, but we'll see.
All right, well, sounds like you got your hands full there. Of course, you know, I don't game as much as you do, but I've been checking out Street Fighter V's recent character updates. They added Oro and Akira to the roster, and I've been trying to, I suck at Street Fighter V, but I love playing through the trials and stuff. So I've been sort of playing through trials and everything like that. Maybe I'll actually play competitively. Who knows? But also, actually, I spent a good part of Sunday. I just spent a good part of Sunday and part of Saturday. I've been thinking about how to play co-op with Jen I have my gaming PC and then the PlayStation 4. So I spent a lot of time going down the rabbit hole of trying to find out what games cross-platform with PlayStation and PC, and what those games are and how much they cost and all that fun stuff. And it sort of led me around to maybe I'll get PS Now on my computer, but I haven't gotten there yet. But we landed on a couple of games, free-to-play games. One's called Dauntless, which I think I told you about it's like Monster Hunter MMO, basically.
Yeah.
So it's more co-op and it's not a competitive, MMO. And then we started playing Destiny 2 today. and it was a bit of a pain at the start, but you know, and it's a good guy, was it a gigantic download? Well, because you got to understand, I downloaded it for PC and for the PlayStation 4, and I got like a data warning from the ISP. So I was like, okay, can't be doing this too often. But yeah. So far so good though. It was fun. I like Borderlands, and it's not too dissimilar from Borderlands, except that it does not seems to be much more serious than Borderlands, but. We jumped right into it. It was pretty fun for the first like hour. So we're gonna stick with that for a little while.
That's good. Oh, real quick, I just looked up. You can get No Man's Sky on eBay for $17 on the PS4.
eBay. That sounds. You know, I have to interact with a real person. I'm good. No thanks. The closest I like to get to that is talking to somebody at GameStop. So, but yeah, that's what we plan to do for the rest of the week as far as the gaming. So that's what we're all playing over here. But I know what you guys are here for us to pontificate and wax poetic about all of the things that are going on in the video game space. We got several topics this week. We're gonna be talking about. Well, these are kind of related topics. The question is a 3090 Super or a 3060 Super really necessary? And this is talking about Nvidia, what they got going on. Related, not Nvidia. What is it? Am I saying it right?
Yeah, it's Nvidia. Yeah.
But also, in the same time, are AMD and Nvidia actually worried about the Intel Arc GPUs? We wonder, probably. They're probably thinking about it. They're thinking hard about it. We're going to talk about more hardware talking about Intel's Alder Lake and how it's going hard. It's going hard in the paint right now, according to the benchmarks that some people that have gotten some early, test versions of the card. I'm sorry, not a card, the CPU, are saying. And maybe AMD might be wanting to look over their shoulders right now. We're going to ask the question, again, more hardware stuff. What is enough VRAM? And we're going to talk about NVIDIA's versus AMD's approach to it. And all that and more. We have some more. If we have time, there are a few other things. Like there are a few other things like, are we ever going to see a true platform agnostic crossplay games? Is that going to ever become normal? That's a good question. Where we're gonna dig into that and see what's up. So, all that and more on the Gamercast this week. So, let's jump right into it. Let's talk hardware. Lottie, I know this is your jam right here. Talking. It's literally, if you guys just keep in your mind, just imagine a bunch of guys in a garage with a greasy rag, hanging out there, the back of their jeans, tools on the side, and a car with the hood up. And this is the nerd version of that. We're gonna get in and talk about what's under the hood, what could potentially be under the hood of your next gaming PC or your next console. So, Lottie, is a 3090 Super or a 3060 Super really necessary? Go.
So, man, first I must say this, man. It really is good to see that what we talked about last week about Intel, what it's causing AMD and Nvidia to do. And one of the things that we're just talking about is the 3090 Super and 3060 Super. So what this really means is because when it came to the 30 series lineup, there was two major gaps that we saw in the lineup. There was the performance between the regular 3060 and the 3060 Ti, and the 3090. Well, really wasn't, it's not really anything above the 3090. We just know that the 3090 wasn't the full die. It was actually shaved down a bit. So this is reaction to what the Intel, so basically I'm just gonna answer the question. The 3090, is it necessary? 3090 Super, is it necessary? No. 3060 Super, it is very necessary, and NVIDIA wants to keep their foothold in that part of the market. It is extremely necessary because...
Now, and hold on, when you say that part of the market, which part of the market are you referring to?
The lower to mid-range market.
Okay.
So, because we pretty much got confirmation that Intel's Arc, that some people have gotten a hold of it, and Intel purposely leaked this out, a very bad version of Intel's top Arc was performing at the level of a 3060. And you know, the thing about it is, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people are like, what does that mean? That doesn't sound very good. What this means is that a bad, like the graphics card that will usually be thrown away, it was still performing at the level of a 3060. So if you put in, if it was a better, a better die, that it was actually a better sample, you put in, because also what we're also hearing is that the drivers are very, very, they're in the infant stage. So if you put in a better die and better drivers, it is extremely possible that this Intel Arc top of the line graphics card can hit around a 3080, not just 3070, a 3080's power, the performance of a 3080. And this is absolutely ridiculous because Intel wants to come in at the price point of between $300 and $400. And remember how I said the last Gamercast, that please do not try to scalp this card. Intel is going to bomb the market with this thing. From all words, Intel has pretty much bought almost all of 6 nanometer. They pretty much, there is a shortage of GDDR6, right? The VRAM that is used in graphics cards. There's a shortage of it. You know why there's a shortage? Because of Intel. Intel bought a massive amount of GDDR6. They are going to absolutely flood the market with this card. And AMD, as you can see, they're also going to start trying to refresh their lineup, because they're looking at it like this, like, they have the 6600 XT and they have the 6700 XT. Right. They're looking at it like, if there's a card that is at worst the performance of a 3060, and I'm talking about at worst, like this is the defective model. If at worst is the performance of a 3060, we can definitely assume that it's going to be at the performance of a 3070 or a 3080. With 16 gigabytes of VRAM, it's going to cost at most $400, and it's going to flood the market. So this is what's causing AMD and Nvidia now like, oh man, we got to get our shit together. We can't just sit here and think we're just going to keep making money off of these graphic cards like the way, because look, one of the main reasons why there's a shortage of graphics cards is because AMD is on 7 nanometer and Nvidia is on 8 nanometer, right? Which were not produced 8 nanometer was not produced very much. Was not produced very much because Samsung and TSMC never really had the really inkling to make that much of 8 nanometer. 7 nanometer, the reason why the AMD cards are such a shortage because almost everything is on 7 nanometer right now. AMD CPUs are on 7 nanometers. AMD graphics cards are on 7 nanometers. Both consoles are on 7 nanometers. Cell phones are on 7 nanometer. There's so many stuff that are on 7 nanometer that the 7 nanometer production is clogged. And AMD has no reason to be like, we don't care because we're making a record amount of money. Well, now, if Intel drops this card, that is going to be around their performance, around their best-selling card, which is the 6700 XT. If it's at that performance, at $400, and it's able to keep its MSRP, no one's going to buy AMD or NVIDIA cards. So NVIDIA has to get their shit together.
I would say nobody except Bitcoin miners.
Yeah, well, even then, but even ask yourself, why would Bitcoin miners spend more money on more expensive cars when they can get a $400 car that's just as good?
Yeah. No,
you know what I mean?
That's something to consider. I think. I think you make a lot of good points about performance versus price, and then Intel being willing to. It sounds to me like they're willing to take something of a hit in terms of profitability in order to get market share and market penetration.
Yep.
So if that's the case, then really the question as someone building a machine or upgrading your card is the question you have to ask yourself is like, is the performance difference significant enough that that you're willing to pay like for what's clearly going to be working out to be maybe a lesser priced option, and I think if you're a high end builder of systems, you're probably maybe this isn't for you, but maybe it's aimed at me. Like, and I'm gonna say I'm not gonna spend $400 on a.
And here's the good thing.
I'm not gonna.
So here's the thing. Here's the caveat. That's their top of the line card. Their lowest end card is rumored to be around a performance of a 2060 for only $150, and it's going to have.
That's the price that I'm talking about. Let me hear about that one.
And it's going to have. What is that? I forgot how much VRAM it said it's supposed to have. It's supposed to have 8 gigabytes of VRAM. It's going to be the performance of a 2060. It's going to have everything that you want, ray tracing. It's going to have its own super sampling software. And here's the real thing that is like, because there's a question that came into my mind too. Will people buy this graphics card? And I say yes. You know why I say that? The people who don't want to buy, who are quote unquote picking on Intel or quote unquote would be hesitant to buy this card, are the enthusiasts. And guess what? Let's just be honest. Most enthusiasts have already gotten their hands on a graphics card, one way or another. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So the people that are left who are buying these cards are, like you said, someone like you, casual. You want a good upgrade for a good price, and Intel is going to provide for you. And this is the part that AMD and Nvidia do not want to happen, because AMD and Nvidia want to bring up the lower end to around $400. They don't want to produce sub $300 graphic cards anymore. But guess what? They're probably going to have to be forced to, because Intel is forcing them to, because Intel now is causing for what I prayed for. And this is what some people might be listening to this and be like, well, AMD and Nvidia refreshing their lineup is nothing new. They do that quite often. Yes, they do that in a regular year. This is not a regular year. This is a COVID year, when anything that comes to market is selling out almost immediately. AMD and Nvidia had no reason to refresh their lineup. Why all of a sudden, when Intel, who does a deep dive into their graphics card, all of a sudden you're hearing rumors of a 3090 Super, a 3060 Super, and AMD refreshing their whole lineup? That literally tells you is that they are like, oh my God, we need to get our shit together, or this thing is going to come in and completely ruin everything that we want. Because they pretty much AMD and Nvidia pretty much got the market corner. Everyone's gonna buy their cars immediately as soon as it comes in, just at, I would even say, a decent price. As long as it is not $1,000, people are buying this stuff up like hotcakes. 6700 XTs, which are supposed to have an MSRP of $479, are selling out at $800. You know what I mean? People are willing to spend that money. But if Intel comes in and says, "Oh wait, hey guys, we have a graphics card that is just as powerful as a 3070 or a 3080 with more VRAM, has 16 gigabytes of VRAM, it has just as good or better ray tracing performance, it has its own super sampling technology, which has been leaked out to be just as good as NVIDIA's." Because this is really the real people that are really scared out of their mind is NVIDIA. AMD is not too, AMD's worried because AMD is worried. The reason why they're not too like scared like NVIDIA, AMD has their money in other stuff. You know what I mean? AMD makes the consoles. They always will have some form of cash coming in. NVIDIA, on the other hand, their money's slow, and they make CPUs as well. NVIDIA, it just makes graphics cards. So if they lose this market, this could really hurt their bottom line, because that's where most of their money, because you know, majority of gamers are in that 400 and below price range. That's where they're mostly at. And if Intel just snatches it up and bogarts both of them, because this card is gonna be a powerful card. You know, this is gonna be a very powerful card, guys. 16 gigabytes of VRAM and later on I'm going to explain why 16 gigabytes of VRAM is actually a big deal. And it's just, man, I am just so happy that the card's not even out yet, guys. And we're already seeing NVIDIA and AMD blinking. I'm telling you, this card is going to be good, and you guys should buy it. If you have the money and you are dying of, and you have a need or dying of the need to upgrade your PC, you need to buy this card, because just look at the reaction we're getting from companies that quote unquote cornered the market on graphics.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. Well, I was gonna say, like, this seems like a situation where if you're the other manufacturers, you might be concerned anyway, because we've been in this situation before where Intel sort of, you know, they were like, you know, they had onboard graphics, or they had a way basically to keep consumers who didn't know too much about the situation more or less in their camp. And you know, nowadays you ask an average person, and I mean an average person, I don't mean an average nerd, I mean just an average person, you know, what kind of processors in their computer, if they don't just shrug and say I don't know, they'll probably say I guess Pentium or Intel or something, like, depending on how old they are. But they'll say something to the effect of Intel, even if that's not what's in there. So the fact that they're a brand name that everyone more or less associates with computing, then you throw in the fact that you could, you know, they can start saying, you know, budget PCs that a lot of people just go to Best Buy and get, or go to, you know, whatever their local retailer is and just get, and they don't think too hard about it. And then they'll be able to boast realistically, this is a budget PC where, you know, Timmy or whatever can play Fortnite and it'll look awesome. I mean, Fortnite's not exactly but you know what I'm saying? They can play games and look good, and you'll still be able to, you know, afford it. I don't think that that's anything to sneeze at. And, you know, maybe we were talking, maybe we spoke too soon about budget gaming being on the decline. Maybe we'll see what Intel's got going on.
Yeah, Intel, as we said in the last Gamercast, could the once evil Intel save the gaming market?
The still evil Intel. But
well, they're still evil. They're still evil, but at least they're coming in with treats.
Yeah, they maybe they're neutral evil.
Yeah, neutral evil or lawful evil.
I don't even know about. I doubt the lawful part too, but still. But that does lead us to. We're all over. I just want y'all to know, Intel doesn't pay me at all for us to talk about them so much. We just are. Things are happening. So let's talk about. Let's talk about Intel's Alder Lake, which you gave us a good insight into recently on the Gamercast, and so now we're starting to see some benchmarks coming in, and apparently Intel's not fucking off. Is that? Can I say that? They're not playing. They're not playing around. Well, how were they ever playing around? But they seriously apparently are not playing around. Now, I'm gonna just say I read these various links that you provided to me to talk about the benchmarking, and I'm just not. I'm so far out of computer hardware and building stuff that it's a lot of numbers to me. But I do understand when someone says, "Oh, it's fast. It's 15% faster than the comparable CPU." The Ryzen 7 and the Core i7, 15 times, 15% faster or whatever, or so forth, and or like the Intel i5 was outperformed the AMD Ryzen 7. So I was like, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be 7 to 7 Ryzen 7 and not 5 to 7. So what I gather from this, at least from these early demo models that they have, is that this Alder Lake is shots, as I said before, shots fired, for real shots fired, and AMD's got, maybe they have some reason to be concerned about the situation.
Oh yes. So Intel right now is in their renaissance. Well, I won't really say renaissance period. They're in their comeback period. They hired a new CEO this year named Patrick P. Gelsinger. We'll just refer to him as Pat Gelsinger. And this guy right here is not playing around, man. He is coming for the, gaming server market. He's coming for everybody's throat, man. He's been on Twitter. He's seen the memes. He's seen what you guys have been talking about, and you have woken up an angry dragon. Because, man, this Intel Alder Lake, it is way better than what I thought it would be all the way back in that, what was it, the first or second episode of the Gamercast. Like, I would not have thought it would be at this level. Just to put this in perspective, guys, the 12600K, which is the i5, is going to be $300. This thing is going to, and this is not rumor. This is actual fact. We'll see how much it will be to buy, but if you just run the numbers, if you go on Geekbench or whatever and look up the 11600K and look at his Geekbench score, add 20% to that, because Alder Lake's IPC increase is supposed to be 20% from the whole entire stack. This thing could beat the Ryzen 7 5800X. This is a massive deal. And the reason why I say this is a massive deal, because it's a $300 CPU that could potentially beat a $400 to $450 CPU. This is massive. This is big. And Intel's not playing around, because this is going to change the game when it comes to PC. Because let's just be honest. I mean, the 12900K, that's exciting. It could beat the 5900X. It's the 5950X. Okay, that's exciting. Cool. That's Intel's top of the line. But the thing about it is, guys, not everybody has the money to buy that i9 12900K or any i9 version. So I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on the more budget versions of the CPUs. I'm going to focus on the i5 and the i7. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, and you guys can say what I'm ever gonna say is sacrilegious or whatever. I do not think AMD has the answer for the i5 or the i7 anytime soon. And the reason why I say that is because remember, from the last Gamercast, what did I say makes up the 12600K and what makes up the 12700K? It's going to be 6 cores and 6 small cores. Then you have the i7, which is 8 cores, 4 small cores. There's no way AMD can compete with that. I don't care what AMD comes out with. When it comes out with the AMD Zen 3D, it's not gonna compete. It can't compete with it. I'm telling you, it's not happening. Cause just honestly, how do you expect 6 lonely cores to compete with 6 plus 4? How do you expect 8 lonely cores to compete with 8 plus 4? Not until AMD will not be able to compete with Intel in the 7, the 5 and 7 range until Zen 5, because Zen 4 is confirmed they are not increasing their core count. Yeah, the 6900X or this 6950X will probably beat Intel's Alder Lake or Intel's Raptor Lake. I'm not saying that won't happen, but I'm saying in the performance, the CPUs that we can afford, Intel is the one that you have to buy, guys. It's not even, look at this. Intel's Alder Lake is competing with a 5900X, the i7. That's a 12-core CPU with 8 plus 4. It is competing with a 12-core CPU. Just put that in your perspective. The Ryzen 5900X is a $550 card. Is a $550 CPU. The i7 is a $400 CPU. You see what's about to happen? AMD is gonna have to respond. You know how AMD responds? By lowering prices, because they can't compete. I promise you. You're gonna hear this from me first. They are not beating the i5 or i7 for 2 generations. You hear it from me first, and you will see it. They're not gonna stand a chance. It's not happening. They cannot beat it. You see what I'm saying? Like, how is 6 and 8 lonely cores are going to compete with Alder Lake? It's just not going to happen. And this is really big. And some people will sit here and say, well, that's not good because Intel will have to increase prices of their i5 and i7. Well, they can't. And some people are like, what do you mean? Some people might hear that and say, what do you mean? What do you mean they can't? Well, because of Zen 3, the Zen 3 that's out right now. At any moment, AMD can just drop the prices of their CPUs. And if Intel increases the price of their CPU too much, no one will buy it. They will take a performance hit for a cheaper price. So Intel has to constantly keep the i7 and i5 at a good price. The i9, man, they might charge $800 for that thing. If it beats the 5950X, I'm telling you right now, that thing's gonna be expensive. I'm just telling you that right now because it's gonna be the king, and you can't tell the king what to do when he's sitting on top of his throne. You know what I mean? Right. Because you can say whatever you want about Intel. Call them pieces of crap. You can call them anti-consumer. All you AMD fanboys, what was the 5950X's original MSRP? And still MSRP to this day. It hasn't let down the price, $800. So if Intel feels like they can charge $800 for their CPU that beat AMD's higher CPU, blame AMD. Don't blame Intel.
Yeah, as I always say, like I really don't have a dog in this fight because I don't plan to even update my computer anytime soon. I've had it for a year. It should serve me for a couple more. But if you are to build a new computer or anything like that, and you're trying to do it on a good budget, I mean, these are obviously going to be some serious contenders if you're trying to make a budget gaming PC. So maybe we were premature talking about the death of budget gaming PCs. Maybe this is a spark of hope for those who are hoping not to have to throw down $2,000 every time they want to make a gaming PC.
Yeah, competition always brings out better prices for its consumers.
Yeah, well, in this case, as long as there's no collusion or any of that crap going on in the market. But I think that there's too much money in hardware right now. There's so much money in hardware right now. Some of it is even actually related to gaming, and a lot of it's not. So there's a lot of incentive for everyone who's making anything, that crunches numbers to put stuff out. But in this case, I think that Intel does seem to be, at least by your reckoning, does seem to be. They seem to be trying to take back what they consider to be theirs, which is their market share and their dominance of the market, and they're doing so by going hard at the technical aspects of it, but also trying to outcompete on price. And I can't say anything but yes to that. Let's have some more of that. And AMD, don't take this whooping personally, or do take it personally and come back and hit harder.
Yeah.
Keep doing it until they're basically free.
Okay, and also real quick, I do want to give the listeners a quick small little taste of what to come into the future. This has been confirmed. Intel Alder Lake is coming out this year. Next year, at the end of the year, there's supposed to be another CPU that Intel is working on called Intel Raptor Lake. There is a reason why I just said that AMD cannot compete with the i7 and the i5, because you see the performance of Alder Lake right now, right? So Raptor Lake, which comes out later this year, late next year, they're doubling the small cores on every single lineup. So put this in your head. The i9 is going to be 8 plus 16. The i7 is going to be 8 plus 8. And the i5 is going to be 6 plus 8. And add on top of that 20% IPC. Yes, like I said, AMD will probably be able to compete with Intel in the top of the line with their 6950X with Raptor Lake. But the i7 and the i5, no, they're not going to be able to compete. What they're going to have to do is lower the price. Because just think about that. 8 plus 8, 6 plus 8. And according to Intel, 2 small cores equal 1 big core. So you're technically at the i5 level, you're getting a 10 core CPU. Let that sink in your head, viewers. At $300, you're going to get a 10 core CPU. So let that sink in.
Look, hey, Lottie, just be honest. Are you on Intel's payroll? That's just say it. Just say it's okay. It's okay.
I'm not on Intel's payroll. Listen. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be absolutely honest with you. I almost switched because I have an i9 9900K, right? And I wanted to build a second PC, just so I can just do work on. It's not gonna really have much in it. It's gonna be cheap. So I was thinking about buying AMD's 5900X. Thought about it. I really thought about it because I was just like, you know what? Intel got nothing good, so I'm probably gonna buy the 5950X. But then I saw Alder Lake, and I was like, man, listen, I might just wait. But and more as the launch comes up, Alder Lake sounded more and more like the better platform to switch to. Because honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. If you came to me right now and you told me you want to build a PC right now, I'll tell you to go with Intel. I mean, not Intel, I'll tell you to go with AMD. Because AMD right now is the better CPU, the better platform to go for. Because right now, there's no motherboard that's out right now for you to go to Alder Lake. There are motherboards right now that you can go to the 5000 series of CPUs. You can get I'm gonna just give you a quick example. You can get, like, if you want to start off real cheap, you can get a X570 motherboard for about $150 to $200 right now, and you can get a 3700X for $220. Right, that's an 8-core CPU. I will actually recommend that to everybody. Get that, because in the future you can easily take out that 3700X and put in a 5900X, which will probably be in the future around $400. That, in my opinion, is the platform to go for right now. But in the future, until I see what Zen 3D is doing, because we're gonna bring up whenever we see stuff, actual benchmarks of Zen 3D, we're gonna talk about it. Until I see what Zen 3D is doing or what Zen 4 is doing, y'all go with Alder Lake, baby.
Well, you've heard it here. Lottie says Alder Lake all the time. So. But we'll see. These are still, these are not the final chips. They're still coming out with the final chips. So when they do come out, we'll check the benchmarks and we will report back again on that. So more hardware stuff. We got another bit of hardware talk, and you mentioned it earlier when we were talking about the video card. So the question is, what is enough VRAM? And this, we're talking specifically about what NVIDIA is thinking about and what the AMD is thinking about when it comes to that. Now, I took a minute to kind of look this up a little bit earlier and see what the internet was saying about it. And the top search returns basically say that 4 gigabytes seems to be at the moment like the absolute bare minimum, and then you're thinking more like 8 gigabytes just to be safe. But if you want, obviously you can go 16 if you want to do the high end gaming and whatnot, 4K, 1440p, all that good stuff. So we're just gonna throw four gigabytes out the door. That's trash. Yeah. 4 gigabytes is trash. That's, you want to play Candy Crush, basically. That's what we call it. And so enough seems to be, at least baseline, we're gonna say is 8. Is that fair to say? So with all that said, what do you think in your mind? What is enough? Or is there such thing as enough? Is there such thing? So go ahead.
So this is one of those topics that I feel like this topic is so divisive when it should not be divisive. And it's one of those things that you even see big time YouTubers who have years of experience messing with hardware parts will mess up on this topic and say certain things that you're just like, that's not right. That's wrong. So, enough VRAM. So I'm gonna break it down into certain resolutions, and I'm gonna go with 1080p as the beginning. If you want a game at 1080p and you want to play next gen games, the very bare minimum you need is at least 6. At the very bare minimum, if you want to play next games that are coming out in the future, you need at least 6 gigabytes. And the reason why I say that is because, some games that I play at 1080p, just to pull up the menu, I'm using 4 gigabytes of VRAM. just to pull up the menu. So, I mean, because there's games that have what is those things called? Very, very like cinematic title screens, like Doom Eternal will have the character Doom guy standing on top of a he's not sitting on the throne, but he's standing on top of like a throne, and behind him is the earth spinning. So that's if you just want to pull up the menu of that game, you need a good amount of VRAM just to pull up the menu. So 6 gigabytes is the bare minimum. But if you want a game at 1080p at high FPS without any problems, 8 gigabytes of VRAM is the bare minimum. When you move up to 1440p, I will say 8 is the bare minimum. And this is where we go into a sensitive topic, because this is where some Nvidia fans will probably get mad at me, because there's a lot of people who own 3060 Ti's and 3070. And they will say, oh, the 3070 and the 3060 Ti have more than enough VRAM. I'm sorry, guys. If I'm spending at MSRP $400 to $500, you better not give me enough. You better give me more than enough. I'm sorry.
Right.
If I'm spending that much money, and let's just be honest, the 3060 Ti is selling at over $500 to $600 now. 3070 is at $700 to $800. If I'm spending that much money, I better not get enough. I better get more than enough. I should have enough to last me generations. And just unfortunately, the 3060 Ti and 3070 does not have enough VRAM. It doesn't have enough, because I know this for a fact, because I have a 6600 XT and I play certain games at 1440p, and I'm seeing my VRAM go up to 8 gigabytes of VRAM at 1440p. So what you think is happening to a 3060 Ti and 3070 when they hit that much RAM? When a graphics card runs out of RAM, you know what it does? It asks the CPU to use some of its RAM, which is the RAM that you put in next to the CPU. Right. And here's the problem with that. You know, some people are like, oh, what's the problem with that? One, that's a stage that you have to go through. It's asking the CPU to give it RAM. So that's going to cause a dip in performance. And then 2, RAM is so much slower than VRAM. So you are going to lose a lot of performance when you go past your thing of VRAM. If you want to game at 1440p, you should at least have, to play next gen games, 12 gigabytes of VRAM. And I'm just gonna be honest with you, the NVIDIA 30 series graphic cards are not gonna age well. And we're already seeing it already, where they're already losing ton of performance when they first came out. So I'm going to go into AMD and NVIDIA's approach after I go into 4K. So 4K is.
I do want to ask you.
Okay.
Well, how does Intel Arc? How do they factor into this also? Since we're talking about NVIDIA and AMD, well, we've sort of been talking about Intel also. How do they figure into this discussion?
From what I see, Intel's lowest level graphics card is 8 gigabytes of VRAM, and their highest is 16. So it seems like Intel is wanting to give you more than enough VRAM to last you for years to come.
Right.
From what I see.
And we were talking earlier about the 3060, 3090 Super. You're talking about the Super. And I did notice that when I was looking, the 3090 Super is supposed to have 24 gigabytes.
Yeah.
So that's their high end, right?
Yeah, that is an outrageous amount of VRAM.
It sounds like just from what you're saying.
That is like 8K type VRAM. That's like, even though the 3090 can't truly, it's not powerful enough to play in 8K, But that VRAM right there, man. I mean, listen, you will probably be able to render a whole entire scene and play a game at the same time and not run out of VRAM with a 3090. 3090 is the ultimate prosumer card. Like, you can be a gamer and a professional at the same time with the 3090, because that's where we're going into 4K. 4K, the minimum that you need is 12 gigabytes of VRAM. At the very minimum, you need 12 gigabytes of VRAM to play at 4K. Some people will say, well, I'm able to play games at 4K at less than 12 gigabytes of VRAM. Yeah, those are not next-gen games, because the reason why I needed, so I'm just gonna dabble a little bit into game design. A lot of people don't know is that, yeah, your game is being rendered at 4K, but the textures are not 4K textures. Because most games, I'm just telling you right now, in today's day and age, the textures that they use are 1080p. Because they don't want the textures to look too good, because if they do look too good, it won't be able to play on lower systems. You know what I mean? Like the base PS4, Xbox, PCs that have older graphic cards in it, they want to make sure that those textures can be seen, because then, and if some people say, well, that's not true. Games could just easily put 4K textures in their game. Now, they're not going to do that because they'll take up too much file size. You guys already complain about Call of Duty updates being that big. Imagine if every game had an update that big, because that's what will happen if you tell them to put different resolution textures in their game. So really, a lot of these textures are at 1080p. It's just the resolution is 4K. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So in next gen, what they're about to do is that all textures are going to be upgraded to 1440p. That's what all textures are going to be upgraded to 1440p in next gen. So that's what's going to start happening, where you're seeing games now, like those games that came out, because this is where I'm just going to go into Nvidia, the difference between Nvidia and AMD's approach. Nvidia, when they make graphics cards, they make sure their graphic cards kill current gen and last gen games. Like, they absolutely stomp them into the ground. While AMD, when they make graphics cards, their graphics cards are more tailored for the future. And this is where we're going to go into Nvidia's lineup. Remember, I just told you about what is enough VRAM. And guys, I'm not trying to sound cocky or anything. I am in game development. I know how much this stuff takes. Like I said, whenever I'm developing my character and I'm developing the game, whenever I upscale textures to a certain level, I can see how much VRAM is taken up. So I know what I'm talking about, guys. You need at least 12 gigabytes of VRAM to play in 4K. I'm not joking. You guys are going to see it in the future if you have a 30 series card. Unfortunately, it's just what it is. Because just look at the lineup. I'm going to go down Nvidia's lineup from the top to the bottom. 3090 is 24 gigabytes of VRAM. The 3080 Ti is 12 gigabytes of VRAM. The 3080 is 10 gigabytes of VRAM. The 3070 Ti is 8 gigabytes of VRAM. 3070, 8 gigabytes of VRAM. 3060 Ti, 8 gigabytes of VRAM. 3060, 12 gigabytes of VRAM, which is stupid, by the way. Absolutely stupid. It's really supposed to have 6, but they added 12 because they were scared of AMD. So we're going to go to AMD's graphics card. AMD's top of the line, 16. The 6900 XT, 16 gigabytes of VRAM. 6800 XT, 16 gigabytes of VRAM. 6800, 16 gigabytes of VRAM. 6700 XT, 12 gigabytes of VRAM. 6800, 8 gigabytes of VRAM. What do you notice about AMD's cards when it comes to the VRAM count? Okay, go ahead. What you about to say?
No, I was just saying it's not below the minimum you were talking about. It's all much higher than that. Yeah.
It's all above the minimum because they want you to have a graphics card that will last into the future. Because in AMD's eyes, they look at it like this is their approach. Because you know why AMD has to meet the certain approach is because remember what I say, AMD also does. AMD also makes the gaming consoles. And guess how much VRAM the PS5 and Xbox Series X got? 16 gigabytes of VRAM.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you? If the PS5 and Xbox Series X have 16 gigabytes of VRAM and they're considered supposed to be the target, this is where when game developers make games, what are they going to make their games to be optimized for? The PS5 and Xbox Series X. So I'm just telling you guys, there's a reason why Sony and Microsoft put 16 gigabytes of VRAM in their console.
Because they wanted them to have long lives. Because they want them to have long lives so that, you know, well into the console's life, when PC gaming is you know, ramping up their graphical capabilities, they'll already be, you know, right where, you know, where the, well, I would say, what would you call it? The mid-range will.
They'll be at the, yeah. They'll be able to, cause like I said, next gen games, the game developers are gonna look at, oh shoot, we got 16 gigabytes of VRAM to make this game on? Okay, shoot. So this is what's the baseline. So what you're gonna consider medium quality or baseline quality is going to be based off of the PS5 and Xbox Series X. I'm not saying every game on the PS next gen is going to be using 16 gigabytes of VRAM, but what I'm going to say is they're definitely going to use more than 8 when it comes to 1440p. I'm going to just tell you that right now. I guarantee you, because this one thing that remember we talked about this. Sometimes you have to give developers or you know, movie makers some sort of constraint, because if you don't, oh my God, they will go absolutely insane with their games, because now they're looking at it like this. They're like, if you guys can go back and look at the articles talking about the PS5 and Xbox Series X when they were being launched, developers were ecstatic. They were so happy to see how much VRAM they can work with, because now they're like, oh my God, we can do all this crazy stuff that we've been wanting to do. Guys, look up, if you guys have time, look up Black Myth Wukong and look up the gameplay of that game. You think that game at 4K is going to be using 8 gigabytes of VRAM? Hell no. That game is probably at least going to use up 12 gigabytes of VRAM at 4K. I can guarantee you that, man. That game is absolutely a ridiculous graphical game, and it's going to use up a lot of VRAM. And this is where I don't want to tell anybody that they bought a bad product when it comes to the buying the 30 series, because they're great graphics cards. It's just NVIDIA RAM starved their cards. And the reason why they do this is because they want you to keep coming back for their refreshes or their next gen cards. And that's a business model. But after a while, NVIDIA is not going to be able to get away with this, because you know why? We just said it. Look at Intel. Intel's putting 16 gigabytes of VRAM on their top SKU. I mean, guys, NVIDIA, there's, like I said, just to validate what I'm saying, Intel's doing the same thing. The number 16, there is a reason why Intel is putting 16 gigabytes of VRAM on their top SKU card. They didn't do 12, they went with 16. There's a reason why for that, you know. And just let's be honest here too. Why do you think NVIDIA put 24 gigabytes of VRAM on the 3090? Because if they truly believed that 12 or 8 gigabytes was enough, they would have put it on the 3090. They put 3 times the amount of VRAM from most of the cards on the list in the 3090 for a reason. Because they want you to buy the 3090, because they know the 3090 is the only card from this generation that's going to age well. Then that's unfortunate, because these cards are extremely powerful. It's just they're RAM starved.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, it's too bad you can't just pop in more like you can with just your regular RAM.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. And plus, even if you knew how to solder, because there's a way you can solder in new RAM, you kind of the Nvidia. Oh, Jesus Christ. Because sometimes, guys, Nvidia does something. Because you know, Nvidia, if you change the RAM count onto their card will brick. So even if you knew how to solder new RAM onto your card, there's certain things you're gonna have to do to trick the card. There is a guy that actually did it who doubled the VRAM count on his 3070 to 16 gigabytes. And he was able to get the card to work, and immediately, just like Nintendo, the video came in like a wrecking ball and with a cease and desist, because they knew what was happening. They knew, oh no, if this guy can make some money off of this, nope, we gotta stop this immediately.
Man, so you're the final your final estimation on this though is like it's got to be for 4K gaming. You said 8.
12 is the
or 12.
12 is the bare minimum. Try to get 16
for 14.
Try to find a card if you want to get 4K.
For 1440, it's
12. 12 is enough for the future.
Okay. So I clearly don't have enough on mine, but that's fine.
But you're doing 1080p gaming, right?
Yeah, and I don't care that much about it. I'll get a PlayStation 5 and I'll be fine.
Yeah, that's the beauty of this generation. If you don't want to get enough, you don't want to buy a new graphics card to get enough VRAM, just buy a PS5. There you go. PS5 or Xbox Series X. Problem solved.
Exactly. All right, well, there you have heard it from the expert. So you got your numbers. Go forth and buy accordingly.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's a lot of hardware talk. So we're gonna actually talk about some video game stuff, not hardware stuff, but some video game stuff. I mentioned earlier. You heard me talking about trying to find cross-platform games. They're out there, and you remember the bad old days, just after consoles started, really doing online play, and they were all locked into their own little ghetto where
their own
even if you had games that were on different systems that had online play, even if they were the same game, let's say Madden, Madden's a good one. Even if you had the same game launched at the same time on all the systems and they all had online play, you could only play people who also had the same console, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're just like, it was supposed to be for Xbox. They actually touted it as a good thing because they're like, well, we have Xbox Live and it's an actually good it's an actual good service, and you actually want this and all. They were guaranteeing a certain level of service, and eventually PlayStation went on with that, and Nintendo had to be dragged into it like a child that just doesn't want to do.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. They got dragged into it eventually, but the point being is that they had Halo. That even Microsoft, it wouldn't let you play Halo against people that played Halo on PC. On Xbox. But eventually they relented on that because they found like that made the most damn sense. But only until recently, relatively recently, have you been able to play games between the different consoles and PC. And so that's why I call that platform agnosticism. And I say that just because it does. A game that's platform agnostic doesn't care what platform you're on, just that you have the game and that you're trying to play online. And so, we have things like Fortnite, which is huge. PUBG, of course. When it finally because it's actually, I think Fortnite and things like Fortnite and PUBG, and then some of these other what I would call zeitgeist or meme worthy or whatever you want to call it, games where everyone's sort of into it, and if PlayStation or Xbox doesn't allow you to play with other people, they're left in the dust. You can't
Yeah.
play like Fortnite. You'd be an idiot to be like, nope, only PlayStation players can play with each other on Fortnite. No, well then you don't need Fortnite then because you're missing the point. And so I'm asking all of this. I'm prefacing all of this to ask the question is, when will we ever get to the point where it's not the exception or even like, it's the rule more or less that if you have an online game, it does, and it's on multiple platforms, everyone plays together. Well, when do we think we're going to get to that point where the console manufacturers don't clamp down like that?
So I'm gonna tell you right now, one of the real main cause of this is actually because some people blame Sony for this. It's not really that it's Sony's fault, it's Microsoft's fault. Microsoft is sort of what you call when it comes to all this stuff, Microsoft is sort of almost like a dictator when it comes to a lot of this stuff, to where you mentioned a lot of the games that are now cross-platform. Notice one thing about every single one of them, like Fortnite is completely cross-platform. It's because of Epic is ensuring, because one of the main things that's keeping Sony from truly just diving into it, because they don't want to be left without money, because Microsoft controls pretty much everything outside of PlayStation platform. You know what I mean? Because they pretty much own PC, they own Microsoft, and Nintendo uses Microsoft servers in certain games. So Sony's sort of like this kid, let's say this kid who's like, hey man, I'll join your thing, but you're gonna have to compensate me just as well. Microsoft wants Sony to just jump in and just be like Nintendo and just be like, because Nintendo doesn't really care about internet. They really don't care, because if they did, they would improve their servers and charge you more. They only charge you $5 for their online servers, or is it $5 or $10? They don't charge very much because they don't really. Yeah, they don't really care for this stuff at all. They're just happy that you're playing on Nintendo. They're just happy that you bought the game for $60 on their console and you bought a Nintendo Switch. If they cared about internet, they'll ramp up their own servers. Sony does care about this stuff because they want you to be a part of their whole entire ecosystem. So Sony's like, hey man, we just want to make sure that we're getting fairly compensated. And this is where people like Steam and Epic step up and basically said, okay, we'll make sure that you get compensated. Because Microsoft, like I said, if Sony just lets them, they'll just take all the money. You know what I mean? And I hope that this all gets sorted out well, so we can get more completely cross play. Because I enjoy playing Call of Duty because good example, another game, Battle.net. Battle.net is Call of Duty's server. You know what I mean? They're not using Microsoft server. It's their own server. So I enjoy being able to play Call of Duty with my friends who have PlayStation, or my friends who has an Xbox. I'm playing it on PC. Same thing, No Man's Sky. I can play with people who have PC or PlayStation or Xbox, or just go down the list of the people who have the game on different consoles. I love being able to play it. But there's certain games, like for example, Apex. And really, to be honest with you, Apex is not crossplay, not because of Sony, because EA is just straight up trash. Have you seen the meme about EA? Real quick, have you seen that meme about EA? The meme about EA? It's like a black dude, he's crying and he's looking up how old EA is, and it says 39 years old. And then he types in how old is I said how long is trash able to stay without disintegrating, and it said 1,000 years, and then he starts busting out crying. So EA is just terrible when it comes to just stuff, because that's the main reason why Apex is not.
Aren't they the loot box people?
Yeah, because this is just to put this perspective how bad EA is. Apex is not even cross-play with PC's not even crossplay with Xbox. That's how bad Apex is when it comes. They're just terrible at crossplay. You know what I mean? Just crossplay's terrible on their platform.
Well, and we can't always lay it at. We're not always going to lay it at the console manufacturers' feet. Sometimes they really are like no. It's not always on them. So I just wonder, like, I'm selfish. I want this to be easy for me, and I, as a casual gamer, I don't want to have to care about all of this stuff. I want to be able to play. I literally, as much money. I'm not saying I spend a ton of money on gaming, but I have a PlayStation 4 and a gaming PC, and I have Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. If there were a game that was on all four of those things at the same time, and I wanted to have like a LAN party or whatever at the house and just use all of those, I feel like I shouldn't have to ask permission for that, or have to play Fortnite, which I've never played and I don't think I'll ever play. But I would love it if a game a game company made a multiplayer game that can be played online, and they made it for multiple platforms. It should just be given that, hell yeah, you can play them all at the same, all together with each other. That was the promise of the internet, damn it. I'm just saying, that's the promise of the internet, the promise of online play. And then you want to section off, like I said, into their own little ghettos, the different. That MMOs solved this problem a long time ago, and it's weird to me that then they have to go back when you put Neverwinter or Elder Scrolls Online or whatever on PlayStation or Xbox from PC, you port it to those consoles. Now you have to make their own servers so that those players can be separate. That makes the world smaller, and that sucks, and I don't like it. So we could let's get beyond that. I am heartened by the fact that when I looked all of this stuff up, there's a list of 30 some odd games, some of varying age and game type. A lot of them tend to be shooters or MMOs or whatever, or RPG type things. But at the very least, there are inroads being made into it. I just really, I guess I'm going to say I'm not optimistic that this is going to happen anytime soon. Like, I don't think that the next console generation is going to see this as a rule rather than as an exception. Because there's thousands of games. And if I tell you there's like 30 of them that you can do this on, and even within those 30 games, there are exceptions within there about how they work. Like, there's some where you definitely can play between between PC and Xbox, but not PC and PlayStation. Or you can play between PC and PlayStation, but not play PC and PlayStation and Switch or whatever. There's connection between the PC and console, but not between the two different types of consoles. So we're definitely. I don't think we're there for it for the next console generation. Just it seems unlikely. I guess for some reason there's some kind of incentive to keep it the way it is, and screw that. I hate it. It made me work too hard this weekend. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand because, like I said, now that I'm on PC, like you said, I also have a PS5. So it's like, it would be nice that if I had like company over, that me and them could play No Man's Sky together. Or if I had, there's different games that are available on PlayStation and on PC, we could just all play together. Because there's a game that I really wish we could play co-op. It's called The Darkest Dungeon. Oh, I would love if that game was a co-op online player game.
Oh, what is it? What's the console it's on? Or is it on PC?
It's on everything.
But there's just no crossplay. Okay.
I don't even think there's an online multiplayer, which is a massive freaking miss on that game, because the game was set up perfectly to be an online player game. Like, I could go into like a whole rant about it, but we can't stay on. I don't want to go too long on that.
Right. Yeah. I think this is something to come back. And I might actually even try to do a rundown of the cross-platform things. I mean, like I say, you can look it up and you'll find several articles and whatever telling you about them. But I think like this, especially in this past year, because I think online gaming has really maybe blown up a little more because of everyone being at home in the pandemic and all that other stuff. And we're trying, remember last year, everyone started doing the watch parties with the different streaming services, and I feel like something similar was happening with online gaming. Just because people are stuck at home, but they want to be able to play with each other. And I really, really want the console manufacturers to kind of get off of this crap about like having to section themselves off. It's just not necessary. I don't think it is.
And another thing that I'm gonna be honest with you, I think why console manufacturers are kind of also hesitant for doing that is because one thing is they sort of don't want too many games to be able to be cross-platform. You know why? Because you have to pay to play online on the consoles, and PC you don't have to pay. So,
I mean, you are, but you don't have to pay on a on PC. You only have to pay a shit ton more to actually get the PC. Yeah, I mean, it all works itself out. The cost of the price of entry of a gaming PC is still more than the price of entry of a console. So I mean, yes. And also, no, go ahead.
No, I was saying it more of like. No, I wasn't saying it like that. I was saying it more of like people on PC will constantly say, "Well, I don't have to pay for internet," and it will kind of make Sony and Microsoft look bad because because Microsoft and Sony don't have to charge for internet. It doesn't really cost much to run a server.
Right.
They're just making buku profit off of. But let's just be honest. They do compensate us quite well with free games every so often.
I'm not mad about playing for PlayStation Plus. I mean,
I'm definitely not.
I get free games that I'm definitely not going to play for.
But there's some of those games that we get free sometimes do be like, damn, they gave us this game for free. Because there's a couple of games that I was like, damn, I was not expecting this game for free, and they gave it to us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but there's reasons that I think console gamers have bought into the idea that you have to pay for the PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live. So we're beyond that argument. And PC gamers are where they are, and I don't think that's really something that bothers people so much. At least not consumers. They're not too bothered by that. They just want to play, and one less barrier to entry. That's all I'm saying. Let's just consider it, just so you can make my life easier, so I can play video games in the house on my PC and my PlayStation at the same time. That's it. Play some online co-op. So, all right. Wow, that was quite a lot we talked about today. We talked a lot of hardware, but also a little bit of gaming stuff. We probably missed some stuff. I'm certain we missed some things that went on in the world of video games this week. And so if you think we missed something you want us to talk about it, or you just want to give us a comment about what we talked about today, about what we've done on today's Gamercast, you can just get down to the comment section, let us know what you're thinking. And of course, you can always hit us up, supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com or at supernotfunnys1 on Twitter. And we'd love to hear from you about all of that. And hey, while you're in the clicky-click mood, you can also hit that subscribe button. It'll let you join the Super Not Funny Show family. And of course, hit that notification bell and it'll tell you when we drop new content. And we do that every week. You know, we got a couple podcasts running right now in addition to the Gamercast. We have the Supercast where we talk about superheroes and movies and TV and all that good stuff. So join us. We really appreciate it. And hey, I could not possibly do the Gamercast on my own. I need all of that wisdom and knowledge and understanding about video games and hardware and software and all that my good friend Lottie provides. And Lottie, could you please tell everyone how they can reach you on your social media?
Oh yeah, you can always follow me at my Instagram, which is Anukinihun. It is ANUKINIHUN, and it is again Anukinihun is ANUKINIHUN. I always upload different pictures, different videos of characters I'm creating, and you can also follow me or subscribe to me on my YouTube channel, which is Kittyhoon25. I put up gameplay videos, different videos showing off characters that I'm working on, and also pretty much trying to figure out different content now to add to the channel. So yeah, always look out, stay tuned for that. You know, please like and subscribe to our videos, because, you know, honestly guys, we put a lot of work into this stuff. You know, I enjoy it, don't get me wrong, I really love and enjoy it, but you know, there's a lot of work that is put into doing the research for these computer parts, and to give it to you and to learn about it. So, you know, just show your little appreciation for us and just give us a comment or a like, you know. And if there's something that you guys think we missed, or as my friend just said, if there's anything that we missed, or if anything that you want to say, you can always leave a comment. We take any form of criticism, mean, nasty, or nice. Please be nice.
Yeah, don't be that guy. We do appreciate everyone who gives a listen. If you like what you hear, let somebody else know about what's going on. You know, we do like chopping up about these things, and the more the merrier. That's what I say. The more the merrier. So, well, that is the Gamercast for this week. Come back next week. We're going to be talking about, I'm sure, a ton more things. We did not get to several things on our list this week, but we got some topics, some kind of things to consider. And in fact, I'll just go ahead and spoil one of them. I think we're gonna talk about the rise of gaming as a mainstream spectator entertainment, And so you guys will be thinking about that during this week, and we'll get back to that on the next Gamercast. Until then, I have been Mo Coupe, your resident fabricant and commentator extraordinaire on all things pop culture. And I was joined by the anime expert, lover of all things superhero, and of course, video game designer and avid gamer, my good friend Lottie. And we see you guys on the other side of the thread. Peace.
Peace.